We are
Oh,
live.
there are people
Hey!
saying hello.
All right.
Hello, gentlemen.
How's everybody
Hi,
doing?
hi.
Good. What's interesting is normally when people go live, they've been talking for like 10 minutes beforehand. We haven't done this because I just arrived about
Right.
1.5 minutes ago. I
Yeah,
have a
that was great.
family. So I literally just arrived, sat down, and Mark's like, okay, we're going to go live.
Well, family is the number one priority. Live chats are definitely number 2 on the life list. So
Absolutely.
At least today.
at least today. Welcome, everybody. I know I haven't done this for quite a long time. It's good to see a bunch of you guys in the chat. We've got Facebook and YouTube going at the same time, and it'll be a miracle if I
Ooh.
can pull this off without any glitches. But I have learned a lot about live streaming since the last attempt, which was like at the beginning of the lockdown. I tried to do a live show that was at the same time Facebook and YouTube, and that failed miserably. Had to punt after like an hour and a half of troubleshooting and pulling my hair out, and we just had to cut Facebook and go straight to YouTube. But it looks like we got both going right now. We got a bunch of people
Wow.
watching, and as long as my Hackintosh doesn't freeze, we should be fine.
Well, Mark, I have like 8 guys, and they couldn't figure out how to get it to simultaneously live stream on Facebook
Woo!
and YouTube. But Mark, on his own, managed to do it.
I am one nerdy dude.
You are.
Yeah.
Wow.
Nerd-tastic.
So we're here discussing a brand new vocal singing course that the three of us have put together. And we're super excited about this thing. I think a lot of you, well, this is the 3rd stream that we've done. We've done one on Chris's page. We've done one on Warren's. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves to the Mark Martell audience?
That's Chris Liepe, everybody. Say hello, Chris Liepe.
Hello. Yes, and Warren Huart.
Hello.
We have singers and producers and vocal coaches
Yeah.
and all who like somewhat being on YouTube.
Yes. Yes, we do. YouTube does pull us together.
And we're
Yes,
all over
that's
the place because Mark, you're in Nashville, I'm in LA, and Chris is currently in Mexico.
Mexico.
So it's-
I'm in Cabo.
Wow. You're not missing anything, well, in your state anyway, as far as weather goes.
Whoa, no. Well, we keep getting pictures from people saying you're missing this. Like January, February is the perfect time to escape Colorado.
Yes.
It can be pretty cold and yucky.
Yep.
So, yeah. So we're celebrating this release, which has been out now for a week. This is the last day. We are doing special initial launch. Of 3, but there have been so many people that bought the course the first day and then decided to hang out for these other live events anyway, and just keep hanging out with us and keep talking and talking about the course. And so it's been this community building exercise of like, oh wow, there's now hundreds of people that have become part of this new community. It's so cool.
Yeah, I had no idea what it was going to turn into when you first approached me about it. What was that, like middle of last year?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
And I thought it was a really cool thing because I had previously posted a couple of videos throughout the years about how I sing, and didn't really get too deep into it. I posted one many years ago about how to sing like Freddie Mercury, and the whole gotcha statement was, well, you got to be, born with certain genetics, but
Right.
I knew back then that it was really all about the emotion. And when we're specifically talking about Freddie Mercury, he was a master of communicating emotion when he was singing, and that we got way, way deep into that whole thing in our course. And I'm excited for people to get many miles deeper into that whole idea.
Yeah.
So Mark, You are supposed to be on the road. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am, like many musicians, supposed to be on the road. We had this huge tour in Germany that we were supposed to be doing, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. 30 dates, I believe, and that got, of course, canceled / postponed. We're going to revamp for a brand new tour down the road next year. So I'm at home learning how to stream better and making sure my audio is on. Apologies to everyone. I accidentally muted the audio there for a few seconds. That was fun. I hope Chris wasn't saying anything too important during that section, but
Probably not. Probably not.
probably not. But yeah, it's bittersweet. You know, I touring is the main thing of what I do in life as a professional. And it always sucks when things get punted, and we understand why they got punted. And every country is trying to deal with this whole thing in their own special way, unique way.
Yeah.
And it takes all kinds to figure this out. And maybe we can all figure out sooner than later how to get touring professionals to be being able to do their work amidst this, which is eventually going to be, if not already, an endemic. Endemic.
Yeah,
That's the new
endemic.
word.
Yeah.
So anyway, all that to say, yes, I'm supposed to be on the road right now. I don't know what town I was supposed to be in, somewhere in Germany today. And
Beautiful.
And I get to be home and trying to make the best of it. And so glad to be chatting with you lads about this exciting project. And the nice thing is that it gave us, the fact that my tour got canceled, it gave us extra time to promote this amazing course that we've created with such love and care. And maybe we want to get into a little bit more of what this course is all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking, I was asking about the live stuff because obviously I know I can see you've got a lot of fans here that are sending you hearts and banners and giving the shout out from various countries. And you know, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the touring thing because obviously one of the things that we did in the course was, you know, your warm up routine, and which
Right.
is pretty imperative when it comes to singing live,
Yes.
getting yourself there.
Yep. In the past, I've been pretty willy-nilly about how I've warmed up my voice. I think I mentioned in the last couple of conversations we had that my old bandmates in my old band down here, they used to laugh at the way that I would warm up my voice. They just hear me backstage screaming like a wild man. And at one point, my bass player said, you know, you sound like you're doing the Wilhelm scream when you're warming up your voice. And I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but it's this one particular, excuse me, I got something in my teeth. One particular scream that gets used in, it's been used in tons and tons and tons of movies, and to the point where it's comical, and it sounds a little bit like this. Prepare yourselves. Ah! And if you know what the Wilhelm scream is, you can hear it. You know, I heard it recently in a brand new movie, and I was like, come on, they're still using this thing. They've been using it since like the 60s or something like that. And it's, you know, movie editors will use the Wilhelm scream as just like a wink. You know, like here's that scream that everybody knows. We're going to use it with this, you know, the scene of this guy falling or whatever. And
Right.
that's how I would warm up my voice. I just do that kind of noise over and over for maybe 2 minutes until I felt like there wasn't as much of a break in my voice. And I used that non-method for many, many years. It got me through a lot of stuff, a lot of shows. But in 2020, I was touring in Germany, of all places, southern Germany, and I came down with some kind of cold, and I got laryngitis, and I'm actually writing a song about it right now because I'm trying to write about some deeper, darker stuff right now, about how I felt that day sitting backstage in Cologne, Germany at a 6,000 seat auditorium arena, and not being able to sing a note above my regular speaking voice because I'd caught laryngitis.
That's crazy.
And I had some kind of flu or cold. I don't know what it was, but I was sitting there backstage with my manager, just totally down in the dumps. I was like, what am I going to do? I've never canceled a single show in my entire life. This feels like doom and gloom. I don't know what I'm going to do. There's literally 4,000 or 5,000 people waiting outside right now. Doors are in 15 minutes. And I've got to make a call. I've got a doctor here with me to prove, for insurance purposes. It was a horrible experience. And that experience caused me to really seek out some help in how to properly warm up my voice, to preserve my voice, especially when I'm on long tours like the Germany tour, where I'm doing, two nights on, day off, 3 nights on, day off, over and over and over again. And that is incredibly taxing on your voice. And I'm not singing, I don't know, Bob Dylan or anything like that,
Right.
So,
it's not spoken word.
It's not William Shatner spoken word. So I had to get really serious about a regimen of how to properly warm up my voice. And now when I'm on tour, not so much when I'm doing one-offs, because one-offs you get, you have a week for your voice to recover, and then you do one show and then you've got a week to recover. It doesn't really matter so much. That's probably bad advice for you singers. You should always warm up properly, but especially when I'm on a long tour like that, every day now I will take about 2 hours to properly warm up my voice. And we've put out just recently that whole regimen that I do. We recorded it at Blackbird Studios a few months ago. Me and Chris Liepe just going through all the runs that I do. I do this thing called bubbling with a straw in a bottle. It's all very technical and interesting, and that's what gets me through. Now, instead of using like the first 2 songs of my concert as my vocal warm up, terrible idea.
Wait, there you use a bong? What are you trying to tell us?
Yeah, man. Who knew, dude?
It's got Eric laughing.
Actually, I think I have that straw. I don't think I showed it to you. Let me pull it up.
The straw.
Talk amongst yourselves.
And while he's looking for his straw,
which is already found.
That was pretty
the
quick.
Laxvox.
Yeah, it comes in a really nice pouch. This is a free advertisement for Laxvox. It's basically, what do you call that? Surgical
rubber tube.
Surgical tube, I guess, and it's got their branding on it. But it's also got these nice hash marks that show you how deep in the bottle of water to put it. So basically, you put this in like a mostly empty bottle of water, and then I blow / sing into it for a few minutes and doing scales, and it goes like a bubbling noise, obviously.
What was really interesting is when we were doing that in the course, when we were warming up together, of course I didn't have a Laxvox. I just got a straw and a water bottle, and we were going back and forth, and I was observing what you were doing and making sure that I had all my bases covered and I was doing things right. And it really is amazing. I mean, you can definitely do it with just a regular straw and a regular, water bottle. But the angles and flexibility that you have to get things right, it's a lot different.
You're talking about this straw in particular?
Yeah, versus me just using the normal regular straight straw.
I've tried to do it with a regular straw, and it doesn't have the nice flexibility, and this way you can keep your neck straight and not have your neck in an unnatural position while you're warming up your voice. So Laxvox, I think I don't know if it's .com because they're made in Europe. So anyway, they're probably easy to find.
So the people who are watching that haven't heard of the course and don't know where to go yet, Mark, you should paste the link into the chat.
Yeah, I think someone's on. I think my manager's on it. I've seen the link pasted a couple times.
He did. Yeah,
perfect.
So it's pinned at the top for those of you. It's pinned at the top of the chat. Actually, I was just chatting with Josh about it here.
Oh, perfect.
And also there's a link under the video, which I think he's going to put with the TPPS under link. So that's also clickable. So
awesome.
Yes. You'll be able to either click it from below the video or above the chat here.
Yeah.
markmartelsings.com. That's such a nice URL that we were able to get.
Yeah.
So simple.
Thank you
Because
for
that guy, Mark
what-
Martell, he sings.
He does. Yeah, he does
It's
do
what
a
I
little bit of
do.
that.
It's not Mark Martell. Bill
Raps. Well, we know that you're a rapper as well. I mean,
Raps.
obviously, yeah. And then of course there's going to be Mark Martell screams.
Yeah.
It's all coming up.
Yeah. My voicemail message is Ice Ice Baby, and it has been for many, many years. And I forget that it's Ice Ice Baby every now and then, and I'll get a message from some random person who's never called me before. They're going, "That is a hilarious
Which is exactly
message."
That's exactly what I did the first time I ever called you. Went to
There you go.
voicemail, and I was just like, "Whoa, you're a rapper?"
Yep. It's the only one I know. I guess.
So how else are you? Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask you how else you're filling your time. You are going to eventually be doing some skiing soon, right?
I am actually going to your home state of Colorado. I'll be doing some skiing at one of the mountains there near Denver. My wife and
Yep.
I don't really have historically haven't had hobbies that we do together, and so we decided to get into skiing since we're both Canadian and both grew up skiing occasionally. We just finally we've bought our own skiing gear, so we feel super pro right now, and we're gonna go try it out for the very first time in a week or so. So
So this is the first time you will have been skiing, ish, for a while.
Well, we've already gone once, and we're always renting our gear, which is always seems to take out like 2 hours out of your first day of skiing. And so we decided,
Yes.
why don't we just bite the bullet and get our own gear? And we're just thankful that we could afford some gear, and now we'll be the annoying people checking skis at the airport.
Right.
So that'll be fun.
Flying out here, there was a guy checking bikes. He had these massive boxes that were as big as
Yep.
humans, and he was checking 2 bikes. It was incredible how much work that is and they're all like taped up, and it's ridiculous. Because it didn't even have like the proper cases to do it. But
Well, wow. That you got to really want it. You got to really want that bike. I can't
I
imagine
guess,
flying with. I'm gonna feel bad checking skis, but that makes me feel better, I guess.
yeah, no, you're fine. No, so just talking a little bit more about this course that people that may or may not have already been enlightened about. One of the most fun things for me, being a longtime Mark Martell fan, was being able to explore some of the stuff that I had been listening to, explore some of the songs and your approach that I've been listening to for 20 years. And then to have you in the studio with me singing those lines and me singing those lines back to you and exchanging in different ways, like, let's try this, let's try that, experimenting over these lines that I'd known for so long and experiencing them in a new way.
I have to interject for a second. I want you to carry on this conversation, but I've realized this every time we've done 3 of these live streams, and I wish I'd highlighted this right at the beginning. So the dynamic for people watching is Mark and I started talking, and we actually, produced a Christmas EP together for Christmas. And as we're sort of leading up to that, I say to Mark, hey, I'm really good friends with Chris Liepe. He's an amazing vocal coach. He's got this incredible YouTube channel. And he's like, oh, yeah, I've seen it. It's wonderful. So it was like win-win everywhere. And then I go to Chris and say, hey, I know you've just done this incredible course with a different singer. You want to do it with Mark? And he's like, yeah, of course. I love Down Here. So the weird thing is like everybody probably is just thinking Queen, 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 Queen. But Chris's gut initial reaction was all about Mark's band. So I thought that was right. That was pretty pure. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. It was quite an honor to discover that Chris was a fan of my old band. I think since like pretty early on, like the early 2000s, maybe. You were
rock stars need money.
Rock stars need money. It doesn't get much earlier than that. That is a ridiculous song. And we played it a lot. We played that song a lot. But in the course, it was really fun to have Chris as a fan of my my music, because we got to use it's not just all Queen focused stuff. It's focused a lot on my body of work, and we take some of my old Down Here songs and some of my solo stuff from my Impersonator record, and we kind of parse those apart and kind of investigate what I'm doing with my voice in certain songs. And we even got to imagine what I would do to sing those songs now with all of the knowledge that I've learned about how to use my voice more effectively. And I love that this course is an amalgamation of all that I've learned in my 20 plus years as a professional singer, combined with your experience and combined with Warren's production experience, that all kind of comes together to produce, the recipe of abilities and skills that it takes to help people become better singers and also be better performers in a studio environment. It's a really nice amalgamation of everything that I do as a professional, not just on the road, but in a studio setting. And for me, it's also, I think I mentioned this in the last chat that we did, I always avoided, I told a story about how I kind of got weirdly insulted by an old classically trained vocal coach back when I was in college, and it put me off of ever seeking professional, wisdom in the vocal.
Unfortunately, that's such a common story.
It is common.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It is common.
And it for many years, like I said, that's why for many years I didn't know really how to warm up my voice, for example. And so this is a vocal course for singers who aren't really interested in taking traditional vocal lessons. And I wish that this existed back 20 years ago. I wish Jeff Buckley would have released something like this and taken the time to explain. Yeah, maybe he would have had he had more time. Who knows? But I just love when people who are good at what they do, and with your guys' help, because I'm not a great communicator, and you guys really came alongside and helped dig out the stuff that I've realized that I've learned over the years.
I think you're an incredible communicator, but you're just humble. But that's a good thing. Being a great communicator and being humble about it is a much better way of going. So
thanks.
No, I think you come across incredibly well in the course. It is enlightening for me. And as I talked about in the other two live streams that we did, this for me is a course on singing, but also how to produce vocals, how to understand a vocalist, which is really, really important. If you're a producer engineer, you need to be able to coax great performances from your artist and understanding their techniques and how they sing. I mean, we were talking before about like the remedial thing of just using your diaphragm to push extra air up for high notes, and how anybody who's ever taken a singing lesson knows that usually. But I've been in a room 1,000 times with singers that have never heard that. And you just give them a little tip like, oh, when you go up to that high G, just push your stomach in and go, ah, and then they do it. And they're like, what happened? You're a genius. So, it's that kind of stuff that if you can understand the vocal techniques available to you, you can then help the singer. It's a huge deal. And it was actually a huge thrill to be able to watch you two guys, work on this stuff together.
Part of what made it so fun is that, and I've worked in this way with other vocalists as well. The idea that, Mark, you didn't really and haven't really studied what you do from a technical level, or putting terms to all the different ways that you sing and engage your voice. And that's really what I think makes the course so compelling, is that that's what we're doing. We're reverse engineering what, Mark, you've stumbled upon over your 20 plus years of professional singing. And in this reverse engineering, we are enabling everybody else and inviting everybody else to do the same thing, not only with your voice, but with their voice. People want to know how to get your signature type of grit, how to sing with a more free range, how to have so much character and interest in your voice. By reverse engineering what you do over key Freddie Mercury lines, but also lines from your back catalog of singing,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, that's what you're doing. That's
Mhm.
how you're using your false chords, or that's how you're positioning your larynx, or holding your face, or strategically figuring out how to hit this high note without any tension at all. We point to what you have done, reverse engineer that, and then empower people through exercises that are based on your real music, how to get those sounds, how to get those sensations in their voice.
Yeah, it's really a reverse engineering of what I've done intuitively throughout the years, and really that's a really good way to put how I taught myself to sing. It was basically reverse engineering what I heard on the radio. Going
Yeah.
back to my earliest influences like George Michael, Richard Marx, New Kids on the Block, like I said, Jeff Buckley, maybe too much Eddie Vedder at one point. But yeah, that's kind of what I would do in intuitively, just naturally. I guess I've always had a knack for mimicry, and I guess the technical, fancy word for that is reverse engineering vocals. So, yeah, it was. I'm really glad that we have this out now in perpetuity, and you guys can today. I think is the very last day that you can get the premium package of the singing course. Can someone explain everything that's in that premium package, please?
I'll let you do that,
Yeah.
Chris.
Okay. Well, so we've got 3 ways that you can engage with the course up until the end of today. The first is you can get the singing course, which is me and Mark reverse engineering, like we've been talking about, reverse engineering what he's been doing from a feel-based perspective, so that you can put some of these amazing techniques in your own singing. Then we have the Pro Bundle, which includes the singing course and Mark and Warren walking through how to produce vocals. We have Warren's professional studio-based methods, and then we have Mark going through his entire signal chain, his entire workflow in his home studio. So that really you're getting 2 courses there in the Pro Bundle. And those will be available after today. But the third one, we're calling it the Mastery Bundle. This actually includes 2 call sessions with the 3 of us. And this isn't just another live stream like we've been doing. These call sessions are, you get to be on a session with the 3 of us, Warren, Mark, and myself, and you get listening feedback. You can talk through the things that you're learning in the course. You can show us recordings that you're working on and get actual feedback from us. So the Mastery Bundle is a highly interactive way to take the course, because you get to go through the content, but then you also get to jump on 2 different Zoom calls with the 3 of us and get feedback. So we really like to offer this on the initial launch of these artist courses, because you are actually able to interact with the artist. It's like the most personal way to be involved with an artist in these courses. But the reason that we're only offering it this week is because it would be just a logistical nightmare to keep these sorts of lessons going, scheduling and all that. So that's why the Mastery Bundle is only available for this week.
Yes, and
That's what you get.
we as human beings only have a limited amount of time, and I'm honestly really looking forward to doing these Zoom meetings with all of you who are signing up for the Mastery Bundle. I can't wait to do that. Get in there one-on-one with you guys and teach you maybe some stuff that if you have certain questions, maybe that'll take us down roads that we didn't even go in the course. So you get a little more of a customized experience that way for sure. And I'm really looking forward to that for sure.
Well, plus you get to, with these call sessions, you get to meet other students too. And most of the people that are enrolling in the course this week, most of the people have elected to go with the Mastery Bundle and join us for the call session. So you're not only going to get to meet and hang with us, but you're going to get to hear and see lots of other students that have enrolled and see what they're doing with the material. And it's a really, I've done this with other artists in the past, and there are friendships made. There are long lasting relationships made, student to student. People start keeping up with other people that have taken this course and see them on another course, and it's a really, really neat opportunity. Thank you, modern technology and pandemic era Zoom chats.
Some good has come out of it.
Yeah, right. I guess. So
it's a lot of fun. We've talked about this a couple of times before, but there was Mark's home setup actually was quite a lot of work of background getting to it, because when we first arrived at Blackbird, we did spend pretty much a day checking out every single incredible microphone that they had, and narrowed it down there. And Chris and I were talking about last time is like, it sounded pretty. Mark's voice sounds amazing on anything from a Radio Shack mic all the way through to a handmade $40,000 mic and everything in between. But for singers, subtle differences are huge. And I think that's, again, I can't really overstress the importance of understanding vocals if you're a producer. Every little piece of insight you can get is incredible. And for most people, myself included, as you're coming up, you don't get to work with a singer of Mark's level. You don't get to work with somebody that can actually has an ear that can go, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that. You're literally getting people that either it's their first time in their studio or it's one of the very few times that they've recorded. So they come in and whatever mic you stick up in front, whatever mix they give you, they're just, staring terrified, and they sing and they do their part. That's 99% of most home studios engineers experience. So what you get is an incredible singer, and you get to really understand something. It's like a fast track to working with professionals. So I think from a producer's perspective, I highly recommend you check out the course from that. I know a lot of our Academy members have already, and just keep going, please, because those calls are going to be a lot of fun, because we'll be taking questions as the guys were saying. And I know there's going to be a lot of great questions. I'm looking forward to it.
And that stuff was almost, it was really fun for me. Not only the talking, the technical parsing out how to sing more effectively with Chris, but the stuff that I got to do with you, Warren, was really a dream come true, especially since we got to do it at Blackbird Studio here in Nashville, and one of the greatest microphone lockers in the world.
Probably the best in the world, yeah.
I mean, it might be better than Abbey Road. I don't know. But they've got every single microphone that you can imagine, and vintage and new versions. And one of my favorite parts of the course was where we got to, I walked into the vocal booth, and Warren had already had set up like a couple dozen microphones, like a singer's choice of microphones. And I've always wanted to do that as a singer. I've never gotten to real time try a bunch of different priceless, sought after vintage and new microphones all in one shot like that. And I think that's a part of the course that you studio geeks are really going to especially get a kick out of, because I even learned a lot. It was very mind-blowing for me, and eye-opening to see which microphones my voice responded to. Like Warren said, though, like you can really sing on any microphone. A lot of it has to do with your own comfort level as the performer. And I'm very tuned into what I'm hearing. Like these are my headphones that I always use, whether I'm in my studio or at someone else's studio. And I like to hear my voice in a specific way. And the less amount of EQ and compression that I have to add to that microphone to get me there, the better. And so I was able to discover which microphone, and it honestly wasn't that big of a surprise to me. You'll see when you see it, which microphone ended up being my favorite microphone. I don't actually own one because it's not affordable for a guy like me. Can't justify spending that much on a mic. And they vary. I mean, we found mics that we liked. We kind of like the C12A. Well, we've got 6. Why don't you try? This is my favorite one of them. We're like, what do you mean? Well, they all sound different.
Right.
Yeah.
And U47. This is George Massenberg's favorite U47. He considers this to be the greatest U47 in the world, the most I mean, and then Mark comes here and uses my U47, which has got a different sound again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, I've done it. When we did the second Fray record, we put up 4 U47s and we put up our U48 that we'd used on How to Save a Life, and it was 5 completely different sounds. And a couple of them were not even completely different. A couple of them were unusable. It was just like, wow, and you're like, it just felt like they need repair. This is the world of vintage. You know, it
just goes to show you.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice little segue for me to tell the folks what I ended up getting, because part of that whole experience for me was maybe it's time for me to invest in a really nice microphone. Well, it kind of left me more confused than anything, because I knew I wasn't going to drop 20 grand on a microphone. I just personally, I'm too cheap to do that for that. But what I do have now is, you see this microphone that is hanging over my piano. This is my Townsend Labs L22 Sphere, and it's a modeling microphone. And I love to talk about this microphone any chance I get, because what it does is it models tons and tons of vintage microphones, and I got to experience firsthand what the microphones it models sound like in real life at Blackbird Studio. And a couple months after my experience at Blackbird Studio, I got this microphone, and I was flipping through all the different microphones, the 47s, the 251s, the C12As, all of the microphones. And these guys do such a great job of modeling all these microphones. And I can tell you firsthand that this mic sounds amazing. It's the one that I'm using on my recordings these days, whether I'm recording or even I do a lot of my writing at my piano here. And it's just an inspiring microphone to sing into. And if you guys, studio people out there, haven't checked out the Townsend Labs Sphere, I highly recommend it, because it's my new favorite go-to.
I agree. And yeah, they were very generous. Trying to get hold of one in the pandemic was so much fun, but they got it to us, and God bless them. Yeah, absolutely superb, Mike. I had the pleasure of using one when I did a Beatles course, because we wanted to sort of compare 67s in particular that were being used to a modeling mic. And I eventually got hold of one, and they had a 67 that was, I think it was like the United one, that was, you couldn't tell the difference. You could not. Clay Blair had a vintage 67 that he absolutely loved, and we put this up and we were just like moving between them. And after a while of like flicking between them with your eyes closed, you're like, they both sound really good. I don't know. I've lost count. Which one is the one, you know? Yeah, I think the Townsend Labs guys did an incredible job of emulating these microphones. And
indeed,
when Mark and I had that sort of, that call, didn't we? Where we were just like, it just doesn't make sense. As much as it just doesn't make sense to spend actually over $20,000 on that mic these days, to get a mic that might not be as good as the one that you heard at either my studio or Blackbird.
That's right. It's such a gamble when you're buying vintage gear, and for me, I just can't make sense of it, honestly. So that's where we're at with that. I was going to say something really deep to piggyback on what you said, and I lost it. That's the joys of being live.
Did it have to do with the fact that you've done so many wonderful recordings through that SM7B you're talking into as well?
Yeah, I have. Actually, the Townsend Labs dudes make a model of this microphone, but I don't need it because I got the real thing. Let's not be ridiculous. I got a couple of these, actually. I think I've maybe told this story already, but when my first video went viral in 2011 of me auditioning for Roger Taylor's band, the Queen Extravaganza, I used this microphone, and the people at Sweetwater, who are friends of mine, they emailed me and said, hey, we noticed a conspicuous spike in the sales of SM7s these days, and as a thank you, we want to send you one that's got a custom printing on it that says, thank you from the people at Shure and Sweetwater. So I've got 2 of these puppies right now, and I've used them all over. Just goes to show you that I think this microphone was first made in the 50s, if not before that, and it still stands the test of time. It's still inexpensive. So really, we cover all bases in the course. we get technical with stuff, but it really comes down to how to communicate emotion as a singer. And I love that it's just a very well-rounded course for those of you seeking to, to dive a little deeper into singing.
Yeah, we could talk for hours about the mic stuff. I mean, the first thing that Mark and I did together, Mark has got an incredibly, like Freddie as well, obviously has an incredibly powerful mid-range, like insanely powerful. I'm sure you could do shows with, in small auditoriums without a PA. I mean, you have a lot of power. And, in that audible 2 to 3K range with so much power, unfortunately, one of the disadvantages of the SM7 is it has a presence lift in that area. So occasionally when he sings with that power, it gets amplified by the microphone. So when we went in choosing microphones, we were looking at thinking we need smiley faced kind of tube microphones that have a lot of bottom and maybe top above that area so that his mid-range, isn't enhanced or isn't exaggerated, I should say. And what was interesting is a lot of those stereotypes of what we thought was going to work were wrong. Were absolutely wrong. We put a C12, not a C12A, but a C12 up, and it was like, yeah, it sounds really good, but it doesn't actually sound like the perfect mic, even though everyone knows, C12 is this. It's lots of boom and fizz. Great for girl singers that are trying to fill in the lows and stuff like that. Yeah. So, you don't know until you try is kind of the moral. Because we I had a friend who really, really loves the Manly Golds, a country guy who was like, it's perfect for like mid-range singers. It's going to really fill in. And Mark tried out one of those and it did not work. It did not work at all. So it's the fun. And I think that's another reason why I think the Townsend and microphones of that ilk win, because you throw it up and you get to try all of these incredible microphones and zero in. So yeah, one more shout out for Townsend Labs.
Mm-hmm. We've got That'll Show Him, who just said, "Oh, you just convinced me to upgrade. Been trying to figure out if he would be able to join the live calls because his schedule's busy, but he's gonna go ahead and roll with the call sessions, which is awesome.
Thanks, Emily.
Get to see him. Get to see him.
Do we have any other questions? Is someone, I can't read the questions and pay attention to the conversation at the same time. Does anybody have any noticed any good questions from the chat?
I have been looking. There's been a lot of great talk, a lot of great stuff. Lots of people asking you to sing like they did last time. There's it's a lot of genuine fans of yours that are just excited for the course.
And I've been answering some of them as people have been asking as we've been talking. I've been answering some things about the course, but it was kind of funny last night. We were texting, the three of us. How should we do another event just to keep the conversation going, and we decided we were going to do that today. So I started looking forward to it. And my I'm down here in Cabo with my parents and my kids, and I got done chatting with you guys, and then my mom was in the back making dinner, and she said, "What? We should put on some music while we're finishing stuff. Chris, would you put something on?" And so I just went over and said, "Hey, smart speaker that I'm not going to say her name, play some Down Here." And so we got to finish eating. We got to make our dinner, our soup, and eat our Mexican dinner on our patio to some Down Here. And the one of the melodies that we actually did not cover in the course, the whoa, I remember. Just such a
that's
such
a bummer.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah. There's so many. When I look back on our catalog, there's the song. That's one of the songs that stands out that really never got to see the light of day unless you actually bought the album. It wasn't a radio single, but it was a song called "Remember Me," and I remember being on a bus with a fellow artist who we were touring together right after we released that album, and she's a really incredible singer, and she was just listening to our brand new album at the time for the first time, and that was the one that stood out to her. Whoa, remember me. Yeah. And we didn't even perform it that much, but I was always really proud of that song and that lick in that song. So thanks, man.
Oh,
Thank you.
the lift in that melody. It's especially to eat a nice cooling dinner on a patio, listening to the ocean and having that lift soar in the background. Just such a fantastic melody.
Okay, we're all
song.
envious. we all want to be out there too.
Yes. All right.
But it's fun to. It was fun because we had the Down Here catalog on quite a bit last night, and just going through all those songs and the melodies and the writing. The way that you guys wrote together and all the different ways that your voice intermingles with the other vocalists and Down Here, it's really, really a treat.
A
really
true
fun to
Lennon
listen to.
McCartney, if you will.
But I dare say that the blend is a little better in
That's
Down
different.
Here than yeah.
You know, the one challenge that we had in our band was, which ended up being a boon for us, was that we were two singers with completely different singing ranges. Obviously, my tenor and Jason's very baritone, almost bassy at times, and he could sing higher than most bass singers, but it made it a natural thing for us to always be singing harmony to one another, and I think that's what made our music stand out. But then when I would listen to, for example, the Beatles, I was like, oh man, the Beatles had a thing that we can't do because John and Paul's ranges were similar. Paul was a bit higher than John, but they could, drive home a melody and sing unison together like that. That's not something that we ever really did with Down Here, but we made it work by getting all harmonizing and stuff.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because so much of there's definitely songs where you don't really notice. There's songs that you sing almost exclusively, and then Jason's doing the background vocals and stuff. Then there's songs that there aren't very many though where you're taking a huge back seat in terms of the lead vocals. There's a couple of them, but there aren't very many. You're mostly, it's either a duet or you are the prominent vocal, with the exception of just a few songs.
That's interesting. I don't know. You might be right. I would like to go through all of our 9 studio albums and see. We always felt like we had a really good balance of Jason's song, Mark's song, and then once every 3 years we would come together and write a song together, which I do still regret that we didn't make the effort to write together more often, because when we did write together, it produced something really unique that we couldn't do just on our own. But yeah, we tried to balance it. We tried to make it truly 2 lead singers, which is a real challenge as far as your identity on the radio. Like, we would release a Jason song on the radio, and we actually had Jason had one of his songs go #1, and then a couple years later, one of my songs went #1, and it almost sounded like 2 different bands. So we had
totally.
We definitely struggled with our sonic identity, just because we had 2 very capable singers in the band. But I think that's also what made us unique, and we did cover that a little bit in the course. So
yeah, it was one of the great things about the course too is that there's a lot of this sort of anecdotal backstory kinds of things, because we isolate different lines from different songs and we workshop them. What does this line mean for how I could approach my voice? That's the question we're asking over and over again. But every single time we'll launch into one of these things, and then we'll get into the backstory of how whatever song we're looking at was written. And there's some trivia or history behind, where you were at the time. Super entertaining for me, anyway, to get all of that history. It's like a documentary plus a lesson, because I get to learn where these songs came from.
Yeah.
So you say you're writing more now. This is something that you've just started again since all your tours have been canceled, or?
Yeah, it's writing has sadly taken been a bit on the back burner the last few years, just because touring has taken up even more of my time. I had just enough time to write back in the Down Here days because we were a full-time touring band as well. But now, I mean, the unquenchable thirst the world has for the music of Queen is absolutely mind-blowing. And it keeps me, whenever the world is open, it keeps me on the road basically nonstop. I can tour, and I'm so thankful for this. I get to tour basically as much as I want. 2019, I did 130 shows, which is honestly too much. And in 2020, we had a plan, my team and I, to scale back touring a little bit. So we're enjoying that scaled back touring at the moment a little more than we wanted to, but it also is giving me the time to sit at that piano or at this guitar right here and do some writing and explore some things over the last couple years that have gone through in my life that I haven't put to song yet. Namely, I'm actually currently working on a song. I was telling my wife this morning, I'm working on a song exploring just the crazy experience it was for me sitting backstage at that arena in Cologne, Germany, knowing that I was about to let down 5,000 people all at once and turn them away at the doors because I couldn't sing, and I'd never gone through that before. So I just had a conversation with a great songwriter here in town, and he was talking about digging down into the darkness. As songwriters, the challenge is to really mine the difficult experiences we go through in life that really unite us all. It was a very specific experience, me sitting backstage and having the weight of the world, it felt like at the moment, knowing because like, well, I'm not just the keyboard player or the bass player. Like, we could maybe limp a show along without one of the other band guys, but with me, the show doesn't happen. And I was just realizing the weight of that all at once. And, if no one else, it's a rare experience, I will say. It's not like a common experience to feel like that, but that feeling, I think, can be translated to anyone, really, feeling like the weight of the world's on your shoulders. And anyway, that's the song I happen to be writing at the moment. And maybe I'll get it done, and maybe you guys will get to hear that soon.
I understand. I remember with Steven Tyler, he has to take 2 days off between shows now. So,
well, he's like 80, so that it's about time that he started pacing himself a little bit.
I wish I could take off 2 days between every single show, man.
Yeah. For him, that started actually much younger. It's just that the amount of damage that he had done in his voice, from touring with, we were talking about last time, bad monitoring and stuff like that. And I know, and the reason why I bring it up is because I know that it causes a lot of issues, because you've got band members that are flying halfway across the world to play a show, and then they're sitting in the hotel rooms, or maybe they're going out or whatever, but they've got 2 days, maybe in a city where there's not much to do, or they've been 100 times, or their families are at home and they're kind of on their own. It's a lot of pressure, is what I'm pointing out, that for a singer, because I've cut my hand, I've done all kinds of stuff, I've sprained my wrist and, fractured bones and torn ligaments. But I still think I probably could have played some bar chords or at least some open chords and done a show, but for a singer, it's a lot of pressure to be sitting there knowing that you've got all your band members looking at you like, understanding, but also not understanding.
I don't wish it on anyone. It was a horrible experience. But the people of Germany were very understanding, and it happened before lockdowns were a thing, and people were still very understanding. And we got to, long story short, we got to postpone that show to the end of the tour, and we got to do it eventually. But I think I've still got a little bit of PTSD from that experience that I need to mine and put down in a song for sure. Well, does that cover basically most of what we want to share with the folks about this course that we're offering today? Last day to get the Mastery Bundle, which gets you entitled to a personal. It's not personal. It's a group Zoom.
Well,
right?
it's group calls. Yeah, group calls. But last day for the Mastery Bundle. It gets you 2 group call sessions with the three of us and other students as well, plus the recording courses, recording and production from Warren Huart and you, plus the full singing course, which is just awesome. I wanted to talk more about, or ask you more questions about your original stuff, and your writing. Are you planning on doing another solo album? Are you writing particularly with that in mind, or are you mainly thinking that you'll just do singles here and there?
Um, we just had my team and I just had a meeting, and the idea of recording an original came up for the first time in a long time. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about getting back into the writing. You know, they always say that writing is a muscle, and if you don't use it, you kind of lose it for a bit, and it takes a bit to get back into it, just like working out. And I'm
Yeah.
in that kind of stage of getting used to getting into the flow of always thinking about music, thinking about new ideas. And I've been, like many people, watching the Beatles get back recently, and it's been really inspiring, and it's made me realize that I don't expose myself to enough music, and you really can't write out of a vacuum as much as you'd like to. And as a musician, when music is your work, I often, most of the time, tend to not want to have music on in the background. I try to keep music for work and not for
Yeah.
play, which is not a great idea. I want to the play side of music, listening to music and consuming it like everyone does, is so essential to me being able to produce new ideas. And
Yeah.
I'm being reminded of that through watching the Beatles, because for those of you who've seen it, you know that they were always having fun with other people's music. They would take breaks between writing
Yes.
their own songs to jam out on a Chuck Berry song or an Elvis song or whatever, and they just love it. They were always having fun, and that was feeding their creativity. So it's a really great lesson for me to be reminded of time and time again. I know that phenomenon. It's so important to be pouring into yourself so that you can pour into others and pour into your own art. And I often just kind of get this tunnel vision of, music is for work. So let's compartmentalize that. And then when I have, some free time, I'll listen to like a podcast of people talking, and which is great, but
Yeah.
I'm not really, feeding my creativity. So I'm trying to make a better effort of feeding that creativity and just keeping my head in music instead of in and out throughout the day. So thanks
That's really
for
awesome.
asking.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think probably all of us on this call can. That sometimes it's funny. When I was working at Sweetwater years ago, and they had the call center area where everybody has these little headphones on, and with the mic, because they're taking calls for people that want to buy gear, right? And the one of those people said, I would never wear one of these headphone thingies with the call thing at home for fun, because this little headset with this microphone represents work. So I'm only going to wear this when I'm at work. And I was thinking about that because I worked in the studio at the time. It's like, well, wait, I don't really have something like that, because everything that I use to work, like these tools that I use for my work, they also represent my hobbies. So like a guitar or recording or these are things that they weren't work for me initially.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes it's hard to it's actually a good problem to have, right? That our hobbies and our greatest passions are also what we're using to work.
Yeah.
But that can be a struggle, because sometimes you end up eschewing them or pushing them aside because you want to have some sort of like work-life balance, not realizing that they are so intertwined. You can't really have that.
Yep. That's something that has been a struggle to balance in my life, just because, like you said, what I do for work is also considered by most people a hobby. And
Yeah.
it's hard to have separate hobbies when your job feels like a hobby at the same time, but you need to diversify yourself. But I think I may have swung a little bit too far in the other direction where I'm neglecting the fun part of what I do. Not that I don't love being on stage. It's one of my favorite things in my life that I get to do. But as far as being a songwriter, yeah, I think I've left. And the difference is when I was in down here, we were writing to survive. And if we didn't write that next album, then you kind of have a dip in the demand for your music, and you've got to
Yeah.
stoke the fire with some new music and keep the cycle going. Everyone who's been a professional musician understands that. Like you tour for a year and then you take 6 months or whatever to make a record, then go back on the road. But with the music of Queen, for me, it's been a challenge for me to find that balance because their repertoire is out there. It's not going to change. People love it so much because they happen to be one of the greatest acts of all time, and there's just a perpetual need for me to be on the road. And I'm excited to figure out how to balance that even better the older I get.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks, Mark, for having us on your channel.
Yeah, man, this has been fun. Hey, basically almost no technical glitches. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Yeah, I think you did the best job of all of us.
Yeah!
Yeah, I agree. Third time's a charm.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. All right. Hey, thanks everybody for hanging out with us and asking your questions. Hopefully we got some of them answered.
Check out the course; it's absolutely fantastic. It looks like quite a few of you have been, and while we've been live, so there's a link under the video. There's a link at the top of the pinned chat. So click either of those things, and there's the 3 different bundles as Chris was explaining. But the Pro bundle, is that correct, Chris?
Mastery bundle.
Mastery,
the one that's going away.
Mastery bundle is the one where we get to chat. So that'll be a lot of fun.
And you'll be able to get the other 2 after this at markmartelsings.com after today, but they'll be more expensive because we've done these massive discounts to bring together a large community around the launch of this course. But the Mastery bundle with the call sessions won't be available ever again unless we do another. Maybe it won't be available till we do the Mark Martel screams or the Mark Martel raps.
Right on.
So,
all right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. I really